Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Twitter, Pinterest. Is Twitter still around? You can find me on Twitter if it's still around. Pinterest, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. So, because last night I didn't say like anything about Halloween, this night I'm talking about Halloween. I'm going to talk about Old Woman Skin and Bone, how you might use that song in your class, how you might teach it with your students, and then how you could put it on to pitch percussion instruments like xylophones, metallophones, glockenspiels, that kind of thing. So I'm going to talk through that in just a second, but before I do, let me just say if you find something interesting or cool you like in these videos, you can find it on the links page. And by that, I mean there's a whole page dedicated to the resources and stuff I talk about in these videos. It's linked directly at the bottom of the caption for this video, or you can find it on my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, on the video tab. Also, if you are in and around Manitoba this weekend, this Friday and Saturday, I'm going to be at the Manitoba Music Educators Association on Friday and the Manitoba ORF chapter on Saturday, doing 6 or 7 workshops. Little ones, but it's like the whole day of stuff on Friday and Saturday. So if you're in and around Winnipeg, please come join us. It's going to be so much fun. You can find more information on my blog or on the Manitoba Music Educators page or the Manitoba ORF chapter webpage. And if you're like, hey, I would love to come, but I don't live in Canada and can't get my passport ready in time or whatever, you can join me anytime. There are a lot of cool opportunities for workshops. I have them all listed on my blog on the About Me page that are coming up. Plus, also on demand, I have a Patreon page if you want to come and join me. There are a lot of cool lessons. I'm posting more and more every week. I post all my lesson plans written out. For any video that I show, I have a written lesson plan that you can take and copy and use, adapt, change, whatever works for your classroom. All sorts of stuff, but check it out. That's I'll link it on the links page, but you can see all the content that's already there and all the stuff that's coming soon. There's a lot already there, and I keep adding every week, so more stuff there. If you are not in and around Manitoba and want PD right now, you could do that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Old Woman Skin and Bone, and this is a super fun song that I've done like my whole life. I'm pretty sure as a student I did this song, and it was always fun and always kind of creepy and always kind of weird. And so I wanted to share how I teach this in my class and what you might do if you want to include it in your own class. So for me, I use this in 3rd grade, but you could use it in a variety of different grades. It just kind of depends on what your students are doing. My focus in this lesson is to get students playing on pitch percussion instruments, so xylophones, metallophones, glockenspiels, and to be doing a couple different things with that. I want them to be playing the drone, the bourdon, playing a steady beat on an open fifth. I also want them to play around with melody, and we include improvisation in this lesson if we have time for it. And so that's something that doesn't really, because of what I'm having them do with it, I'm skewing it with older grades as like a beginning of the year kind of activity. Not really the beginning of the year anymore. We're farther along, but it's a great sort of intro back into the instruments and do more with things on the instruments. So that's why I put it in 3rd grade. But I think you could, depending on what you're going to do with it, you could do it in 2nd grade. You could do it in, well, probably 2nd grade. I probably wouldn't do it in 1st grade, but it's totally up to you on how you use it. So you can see what I do with it, and then you can decide for yourself what grade you might program this. So, of course, I have a xylophone right here. How does this fit in my office? Ooh, it's one of the fancy, cool, Smart Series Sonar brand that like fits right on a desktop. It's not like the big traditional ones. This is one of the cool thin ones. They like stack. Ooh, watch this. None of the bars fall off. I know that some people probably just gasped and clutched their pearls, but none of the bars fall off. It's really compact and portable, easy to use. And one of the things I was talking about with the other music teachers at my music district professional development today was, we're talking about adaptive instruments and how she's like, I have a couple students in wheelchairs and I'm trying to find the right things, using resonator bars or something that can fit on the tray that they can play and is still accessible to them. And she's going to try using one of these because it's so thin. It can be propped up or either put on the used in conjunction with the wheelchair they already have, or maybe put in one of the tray systems they already have, so she's going to try it. So I think it's one of the cool things about it because it's so compact. Like, yeah, it saves space, but then like think about all the cool accessibility things you can do with it and how like it might fit and work for kids in ways that other instruments can't. Anyway, just that came up today and I just thought like, well, that's kind of cool. I'd never really thought about it as in like context of like how could it help a student who needs access to the instrument but can't fit at one of the others. Just anyway, sort of cool. And if you're like, oh yeah, it's fun to come back, it also has these little lift things, these little they're kind of like the legs of a chair. So that also gives you a little bit more flexibility as far as where is it going to go, where can it fit, can kids fit under it, that sort of thing. So something to think about if you're thinking about, would this instrument work for me? Okay, so anyway, I tell the kids, so it's October, and like everything I do, I always like tell a story because I feel like, am I a music teacher? Am I a storyteller? I don't know. Is there a difference? Maybe not. I don't know. But I always sort of start with a story. And so with this one, I say, okay, this is a story. I love this song. It's such a great song. But I'm just going to warn you, it's a little bit spooky. So I hope you're okay with that. It's just like a little bit spooky. So don't worry too much. But anyway, ooh, oh my gosh. Oh, I already feel a little creeped out. This is exciting. Ooh, oh my gosh, what a great start for a story. Okay, I'm going to sing the story, but don't get too scared. Okay, you ready? Here I go. Just don't get too scared. There was an old woman, all skin and bone. Ooh. Okay, are you scared yet? I hope you're not scared. It said an old woman, skin and bone. It doesn't mean that that's all. That she's not only skin and bone. That's an old-timey way of saying she was very, very thin. Like very thin. Like my grandma used to say, oh, you're just skin and bones, have another helping. And so it doesn't mean I was just skin. It meant that I was very thin. Anyway, are thin people scary? No. Okay, so anyway, but it's going to get spooky. It's going to get scary. Let me start over. Okay, spooky, here we go. There was an old woman, all skin and bone. Ooh. She lived down by the old graveyard. Ooh. Ooh, she lived by a graveyard. Is that spooky? It's spooky, right? Actually, when I was growing up, my best friend Bethany, she lived like literally right across the road from a graveyard. And she said it was not spooky. She actually didn't like it, but it's not because it was spooky. It's because her family, like somehow they were always hired to mow the graveyard. So she didn't like it because when they went over the graveyard, it meant that she had to like get out the mower and get out like the trimmer and stuff. And she just didn't like it for that. So it wasn't, but she said it wasn't spooky. She lived like right across the road from it. It's just like a place. But some people think it's spooky, but I don't think it's really spooky. And Bethany didn't think it was spooky. And whenever I'd go and ask her about it, she said it wasn't spooky. Anyway, and this song is kind of spooky, right? Ooh, a thin woman living near a graveyard. Ooh. Is anything scary yet? I guess no, not really if you're thinking about it. It's not really scary yet. Anyway, let me go on. There was an old woman, all skin and bone. Ooh. She lived down by the old graveyard. Ooh. One night she thought she'd take a walk. Ooh. She walked down by the old graveyard. Ooh. Oh my gosh, walking at night. That's so scary, right? No, that's not really actually scary. But I guess if she went outside and she was alone, like sometimes when you're outside and alone, it's like it makes you a little spooked, a little nervous. I don't know. But really, is there anything? Does the song tell us that there's anything scary yet? I mean, I guess the way I'm singing it, but like not real. It's not really scary yet, right? Anyway. So the reason I'm doing this is because number one, I don't want kids to get too creeped out. I want them to think that like the music room is a fun, safe place. I would rather them think this is like a silly song and that it's okay to be spooky sometimes than to think like, oh my gosh, I was so scared of music today. Also, I want them to think about, what is the song actually telling you? Is it telling you something spooky is happening? I don't know. So you got to think about it. So that's why I keep stopping. Plus also the more I stop and prolong, the more the surprise at the end. might actually be spooky for them. Okay, so let me go. So let me go on. So she walked down by the old, and also I would start over. I would sorry to say this again, but every time I restart, I start from the beginning, and then I'm not spending so much time teaching them the song because they're hearing it so many times. They're kind of learning it as I go. So it sort of cuts down on the like having to like, okay, repeat after me, verse 1, verse 2. You know, like the more they hear it, the better they're going to be at it. So, but I'm going to skip going back to the very beginning. So it just went. She walked down by the old graveyard. Ooh. She saw some bones a-laying around. Ooh. She went to the closet to get a broom. Ooh. Okay, hold on. Because when she went down to the graveyard, she saw some bones laying around. What do you think that means? And after having stopped them several times, kids will like give ideas of what they think it might mean. And so some kids are like, it's bones from the graveyard. I'm like, does it say that? I mean, she was down by the graveyard, but did it say it was human bones from the graveyard? No, it doesn't say anything like that. What else could it be? And so this is when we go into like the sort of silly, like, but what else? Could it be that a dog had a bone it was chewing on and it was running along and it just dropped it by the grave? Could it possibly be that? Well, yeah, the song doesn't tell us. It doesn't tell us what the bones are. Could it be that somebody had gone to Kentucky Fried Chicken and they got a bucket of chicken, like fried chicken, and they ate the chicken and then littered? They littered. That's what makes the song so spooky. They had littered and they left the bones out on the side of the road. That could be what this means, right? Okay, could be. We don't know. The song doesn't tell us. But anyway, it could be chicken bones. And then someone's like, but it could be human bones. Well, it could be. It could be human bones. But the song doesn't tell us that. And then the next part, she went to the closet to get a broom. What does that mean? And the kids raise their hand and I go, well, I think it probably means that she needed to sweep up those bones. She saw the litter out there and she was going to go clean it up. So she went to get a broom. And kids are like, no, it's because she's a witch and she's getting her broom to write on it. I was like, but does the song say that? No. I'm so glad that you have your context clues and you are remembering things from outside of music class. That is amazing. And you're bringing that information in. But the song doesn't actually tell us that she's a witch. It doesn't tell us that. All it tells us is she went to the closet to get a broom. That's all we know. Could it be that she was getting a broom to clean up the bones? Yes. Could it be that maybe she's a witch and she's going to go fly around the spooky graveyard where there are bones coming to life? Possibly, but the song doesn't tell us. We're just assuming here. Okay. So anyway, so then I go back to the song. I usually start from the beginning. Let me actually start from the beginning like I would with kids and finish the song. In case you don't actually know this one. There was an old woman, all skin and bone. Ooh. She lived down by the old graveyard. Ooh. One night she thought she'd take a walk. Ooh. She walked down by the old graveyard. Ooh. She saw some bones a-laying around. Ooh. She went to the closet to get a broom. Ooh. She opened the door and that's my favorite part. Kids like leap, especially if I start at the beginning and I do sing it like slow and quiet and like quiet down and like draw in their attention. Because I have stalled so long in teaching this song, they're like, oh my gosh, and then they get drawn into the story again, trying to remember all the bits, trying to remember all the things. And then it really is a surprise at the end. And they like, wow, they like jump. Okay, this is when I go, oh my gosh, the ending, whoa. And kids like, yeah, I was so scared. And then I'm like, right, wait, hold on. Were you scared or were you just surprised? Because I'm not like still scared. Like I mean, it's a creepy kind of a story, like a spooky story, and that's fun. But like, are you scared? Are you worried about going now and finding a woman getting something out of a closet? Nah, not really, right? Like we're back in the music room. It's safe. It's a fun, we're having fun. But really there's a difference, right? And so this is when I talk with kids about what's the difference between scared and surprised, because they're not necessarily the same thing. This is something I saw when years ago when I saw my nephew and my sister And my nephew was like, I'm really scared. And she's like, oh, or were you surprised? And kids don't always know how to differentiate those emotions. And sometimes you can be surprised and that feels a little scary at first, but really it's just you reacting to a stimulus, right? So in this instance, I like to talk about what's the difference between that scared and surprised, because you were surprised. Surprise can be kind of fun. There's a whole, ecosystem of movies and TV and whatever. There's this whole, genre of movies that are meant to surprise us. And that can be kind of scary. And gets our adrenaline going. But is it ultimately scary? If you think about the words in the song, there's really nothing scary in the song. It's just a little surprising at the end because I lull you. And so we talk about that as a class. We talk about scared and surprised. And then I say, so, but is it fun to do that thing, because I got you like all drawn into the story and then we surprised you at the end. Was that kind of fun? And they're like, yes. And I was like, so the cool thing is like we can like try and do that ourselves. We can recreate that, and sometimes it's fun to be a little bit surprising, right? So we go through and we talk about that, and then we say, so but now would you like to try, how are we going to do this? So let's see. The thing about what's the thing that I was doing the whole way through while I was singing? So we go through and we learn some of the words, right? And then I was like, what was the other thing? I was playing this instrument, and so what was I playing? I was playing this. I was playing bum bum bum, bum, bum. That's one of the things about the song that like surprises you at the end because it's so slow and relaxed. Bum, 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 bum. And you could give it words if you wanted. You could do old, skin and bone. Oh, you could come up with words if you want. The traditional one that I use for a lot of different drones is "Will you be my friend?" Will you be my friend? It doesn't really work with this song. So if you do like old, skin and bone, that might make a lot of sense. Something that helps the kids anchor on that part. So then we play it. We do it patting our knees first, and then I'll move kids to instruments where they play on D and A. It's an open fifth. And for what we're about to do, I wanted to play on those two bars because the next thing, it'll make it easier for on D and A instead of C and G. You'll see why in a second. So we play that part, and then we make sure that we can sing along. And I, like there are a lot of words, but there's a part of this song that comes back over and over and over again that I think you already know. And the kids are, and I say, okay, let me see. The first part goes, there was an old woman, all skin and bone. Ooh. And that's just a descending scale, starting on A, going down to D. And so that's one that it happens after every single thing. And I'll say, so I'll tell the story and you do the oohs. And so, if I have kids playing back there, and whoever's not playing can be singing or patting on their knees so that they are getting that kinesthetic feeling. So when they move to the instrument, they're ready to go. So you can be patting and sitting and playing and singing. And if they can sing the other part, great, I'll put the words up on the screen. But if they can't do that, just sing the oohs. And then eventually I'll have kids move to the bars. So if you have them play on D and A, they can play that melody part. And you don't have to change out any accidentals or anything because F natural in that descending melodic phrase is going to give you that minor sound of D minor. So A, G, F, E, D. So kids, the other cool thing is that they just walk down. Now, if they have trouble with the syncopation, I just say start on A and walk down to D. Good, but our song goes ooh. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, and they can usually get that. One thing you might have them do is take off the C bar so they don't end up, well, if they leave the C on and play, and that just feels a little weird. So you got them to take off the C, so it's kind of like, when they're playing, they're bowling, like having bumpers on the end, so they have an end where they know they can finish. They could also take off the B up above if you wanted, but that's up to you. Okay, so we play around. I usually have some kids doing that drone, the bourdon with the open fifth. And then I'll have kids on the ooh. If you want kids to try and play the melody part, You can. It's D and F and G if you want. But I usually just have kids play the oo, and I have them play the drone. And then that's an easy part to go with, like, next, if you want to have them playing the melody and the drone and some singing. If you wanted, you can add in an instrument for the boo, a surprise instrument like a vibroslap or a slapstick or whip crack, things like that if you want. Kristen says, what kind of xylo are you playing? I'm playing the Smart Series Sonar. Ooh, I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the video about how do I have the xylo in my office on my desk. This one is so easy and compact, it fits. And I talk a little bit about adaptive playing for kids who need special instruments. I talked about that a little earlier if you want to go back and listen later. Anyway, so we play here. If you want, what else could you do? You could create a B section where you have them improvise. I would probably just have them do those 5 notes, D, E, F, G, A, and not go pentatonic, not go into other notes. I would just give them those 5 and let them play around with it, and I think that's probably enough. One of the things I would say with kids is one of the things that makes this song kind of spooky is that it's slow and it's gentle. So if you're playing, it's no longer spooky, it's no longer scary. And if you're playing, it really doesn't lend itself to fast notes and quick notes and rolls and things. So really we're trying to keep the sound sort of spooky. So it's really fun for syncopation. It's really fun for giving kids a chance to improv. You could have them do question. You could have them do answer. There are a lot of things you can do if you want. And then it's sort of that minor sound in there. Easy for them to recreate, even if only what you have them do is the open fifth. If you have them do the drone or the melody. I know that the ooh is maybe different than the way some other people have done it, but it's there are a lot of variations of this song. And this is just one of them in case you're interested in it. Let me show you one more resource you can use if you want, because it's not the only version of the song. Let me see if I can pull up a resource I made for this. Ooh, where did it go? Okay, hold on. Whoop, there it is. Sorry, I lost you. Let me come back to this. Okay, let me turn around Instagram for a second. So I made these folk song sets years and years and years ago. Well, I have a ton of them, but this is one for the song Old Woman Skin and Bone. So I use this sometimes when I'm teaching it. It gives kids context. It gives them more information about the song. So you can also print it out and use it as a bulletin board if you want. I linked it on the links page if you're interested. I have a ton of these for all different kinds of songs. It's just one of the Spook Pack songs that's in the Halloween songs. So like if you wanted to use it for a bulletin board, there are these different slides that say like Old Woman Skin and Bone, favorite folk song of the month, or just favorite folk song. It tells you where it's from. It's originally from England. This song is very old. It was originally published in a book in 1783 called Gammer Gurton's Garland, or the Nursery Parnassus. There are many different versions of this one, as with many different folk songs. We talk about vocabulary. What does skin and bone mean? Does it mean she's, just skins and bones? No, it just means she's very, very skinny. We talk about variation of different kinds. Scary songs. Don't worry, you're safe with your teacher in the music room. No real reason to be scared, but sometimes it's fun to be a little scary and spooky. And we talk about context clues. What makes the woman so skinny? Why'd she walk by the graveyard? Like what is it in this song that makes it kind of creepy? And then there's a version of the song with the lyrics. But this actual song, there's another version, and this is the traditional Irish version. And this song is really interesting. I tried playing it on the piano earlier, and it is not a version I knew. Let me see if I can play it really quick. I'm going to jump over to my piano. I am so far off on the rhythm and stuff. but it is like way more complicated. I'm sure it's one of the, like, if you grew up singing, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I totally know this one. I do not know this one, and feels very complicated. And this one does get very, it's like the grubs crawled in and out of its eyes, ears, nose, and mouth of the ghostly ghoul. Like, so like this one is like for sure. This one is for sure a little bit more creepy. I also have media links if you want to see like lyrics versions, things I found online, and then like a little, picture of a graveyard if you're printing this out and you want to show it to kids. Okay, let me flip back around. Okay, so that's if you want. I like having that just to talk with kids, like to give them a little bit more information about like the context of the song, where the song came from, the history. So I use those sort of as supplemental materials, especially if we come back to the song on another day to give them more history and context or talk about where the song is from. Or if you just want like a lyrics page, it's nice to have that already done and printed for you. So that's a resource if you're interested. But the song itself is very, very easy. It's super fun to do. You can do the improv with it. You can just have kids play you could have them cycle through playing the melody, the ooze, and then the drone. You could have them play a non-pitch instrument if you wanted to scare on the end for boo. It's easy to talk about in this lesson, to talk about dynamics. You could talk about performance practice, like how are you playing on the bars to make it spooky? Are you playing the way you normally do? It's a great one, especially if you want to talk about hitting the bar hard. What song do you get there? What sound do you get there? Or hitting it more gently? What sound do you get? Because you're going to get a different sound from the mallet depending on how you play the bar. So it's a great one to talk about that too, but it's also fun to do minor. I mean, like there's so many things you can get out of it that like usually I teach the lesson and then teach it again and keep doing more possibilities with every lesson because there's like just so much that you can do. Okay, so this is just one song. There are a lot of other fun songs. Oh, and it's not Ghost of John, Ghost of Tom, Ghost of whatever that other. There's another very accessible orphan instrument. So it's a little different. It's a fun one, and one that's been around a super long time. So there are a lot of options for this song. If you like this kind of stuff, this is the kind of stuff I share on my Patreon page. If you want to get more information or like see more like songs and lessons, like what else can I do to extend? There's a lot of stuff there. Also on the links page, I linked the favorite folk song kit if you're interested in that. But anyway, I hope this gives you some ideas of like what you can do with this song. Maybe you already teach it and you're like, now I can extend it in a different way, or maybe I can change things in a different way, or even just how you, like the way I told the story at the beginning to give kids a little context about like, well, what does the song actually say? What do we actually know? Yeah, it's a little spooky, but when we think about it and like think about the context, like what is the song really going for? It's just a different way to tell the story, and I hope this gave you a glimpse into how you might teach a little differently if you want. Okay, I'm back again next Monday for another Musical Mondays video, but I hope I'll see a bunch of you in Winnipeg this Friday and Saturday for the Manitoba Music Educators Conference and the Manitoba ORF chapter. I hope I'll see you all there. If not, I'll see you all next week for another Musical Mondays video. Bye everyone, have a great night.